Yo. Hello, and welcome to a very special episode of the Alpha Rhythm Podcast. It's episode 239, and it is our Christmas cast. Going to be doing things very differently this week. It's going to be a 2-hour mix of all original Alpha Rhythm and Alpha Rhythm collabs. And I'm going to be doing a deep dive, telling you a little bit about each tune as we go along. We're kicking off with a tune I just did with Natus called Hollins Cross. And a little bit of story behind this one. Natus had sent me a few tunes, 3 tunes I think, that he was going to release for free on his SoundCloud page. And I said to him, look, these are just too good to give away for free. You should put out an EP. So he had 3 tunes. He sent them over to Marco, who runs Triple Vision, who runs Focus, Celsius, Influenza. Marco wanted all 3 tunes, so we decided to do a collab for the 4th tune, and this is the result. Natus, of course, did all this wonderful instrumentation. I did the drums, the bass, pads, FX, and vocals. The vocals are taken from an American classic folk song called O Shenandoah, with, of course, lots of reverb. So yeah. Also, Hollins Cross is a location in England that Natus used to visit quite often. So he came up with the name. And yeah, quite happy with this collab. Big up to Andrew Natus for this one. Up, we have a personal favorite of mine, my first ever song on Focus Recordings. This is, of course, Tranquility. And yeah, this is one of those songs that just came together in about a day. I remember sitting down in the morning to write this song. My wife had left for work, and I said, I'm going to start something new, and I wrote this. Started with the pads and the string samples, added the drums, the bass, and then the piano, and finally the vocals. And yeah, actually, if you're interested in getting to know more about how this song was made, I did a track breakdown on this track for Drum and Bass Academy, so you can find that on their YouTube page. But yeah, it might sound a little bit conceited, but I have to say I love this song. I play it in all of my sets. It's my personal favorite track that I've ever written. It came together like that. It just happened. I was just there, and it's like the song just happened in front of me. And if you're an artist, you might be able to relate to that, but I almost feel like I didn't even write this track. I was just there for it. And I just happened to be fortunate enough to be a part of this experience. And not to get too philosophical, but I believe as artists, that's what at least some of us, many of us, aspire to do. It's to kind of get out of our own way and allow the creative process to flow through us. for me, that's where spiritual practices come in, things like meditation and prayer, deep breathing. They allow me to clear up the channel that's plugged with self and ego and to let some what might be called divine love radiate through into our art. And there's no song of mine that I feel like accomplished that more than this particular song. It's that timeless, eternal presence that many of us are able to experience through art. That little taste of the eternal, which some might call love, some might call God. But I believe that is what we are called to do as artists. Whether you're a painter, a musician, a dancer, we're all striving to reach out and touch that eternal presence and hopefully channel a little bit of it through our artwork. So anyway, Tranquility. Hopefully I managed to do that. Because for me, this song is truly something special, and it opened the door to releasing on Focus Recordings, which of course is the label I call home today. So very, very special song to me. Next up, we have myself and Ritual. The tune's called Downcast. Here's another one I did with Ritual, who, of course, was the first person I ever did a collab with. My tune Venus Fly off of my first EP was with Dan Ritual, who hails from Toronto, Canada. This tune, he had the piano and maybe some of the pads written, I believe. I don't think there was a bass line originally, so he sent it to me. I did the drums, the bass. If I remember correctly, he didn't like my bass line. And then he went back and redid the bass. And he did the lead on the second drop as well. There's that breathing sample in there that pans left, right. There's a breath sample in Hollins Cross as well. I like using samples of humans, whether it's like voices or human breath and exhale, things like that, to give the song a human quality. The human voice, of course, is the oldest musical instrument. So having something like that in what tends to be a more synthesized music genre, having a raw human element, can really help ground the listener in your music. I'm particularly fond of this second drop. Another personal favorite of mine, my collabs with Ritual always turn out very, very nicely. And this one, I'm sure many of you know, is actually out on vinyl on the Within Eternity EP. So really, really, really glad this song could make it on vinyl. And again, I just have to big up Focus and Marco, who runs the label. They've been so accommodating. When I put together this EP with Ritual, HumaNature, and Subliminal, of course with Leo Wood and Sydney on vocals, I said, hey man, I feel like this is something special. Could we put this on vinyl? And he said, absolutely, let's do it. So Here, I'll check right now. I know they actually added a couple copies of the vinyl to the Focus Recording Bandcamp page. Yeah, there's actually 4 copies up on the Focus Bandcamp page. And get this, it's €6 if you want to buy the digital album. It's €10 to buy the vinyl, and you get the digital album when you buy the vinyl. So for €4 more, you're getting both the digital and the vinyl. And if that's not a deal, if that's not a steal, focusrecordings.bandcamp.com. Once they're gone, they're gone. There's 4 left. And that, of course, where is it? It's right here. If you're watching the video version of the podcast, that's here right behind me. And speaking of vinyl, this next tune is my collab with Villem, which is out on Hospital Records. It's called The Maker. And this one, another personal favorite of mine. It's on Future Symptoms Volume 1, which I know for a fact is completely sold out on vinyl, which is a shame because I kind of want a second copy. I only got 1 copy for free from Hospital, and it went in a frame. So I've never actually played the record. It went straight into a frame. It's my first ever vinyl release, and yeah, I think my mom has a copy of it. Maybe I should borrow that so I can hear it on vinyl. I have to shout out everyone who has ever had me sign this record. I've signed a bunch of them, and it has to be said, my autograph is total shite. It's something I really need to work on, and my wife keeps bugging me because I'm like, oh, no one will want my autograph, and then I go and play a gig, and then people of course come up with merch and vinyls and stuff, and they want me to sign it, and I just feel like I'm ruining this stuff. So yeah, shout out to everyone who's got my chicken scratch on their records and their merchandise. A little bit about this track. Originally had samples from Blade Runner in it, but of course that's a copyrighted movie, and Hospital would not allow us to release the track with Blade Runner samples. So I had to change some of the words and re-record the vocal sample. So the vocals you hear on that track are me in this very room on this very microphone. And then we went and we pitched down the vocals. We added some reverb, some delay. And that's what you hear. That's what's on the vinyl. Other than that, the bass line is done in Hive. Actually, most of the song is done in Hive. You, He, Hive 2, and Hive 1. Villem has the original Hive 2. So that's a plugin we use for a lot of these sounds. There's the FX and Weird category in Hive. I found a lot of these sounds in that. This is the 808 Boom bass patch in Hive. The Amen breaks are from the now famous Blue Martin sample pack from the 90s, the Jungle sample pack, which is free if you're looking to get into making drum and bass jungle, anything like that, that is a must-have sample pack. Blue Marten Jungle. It's over 20 years old, but I'm telling you, it is full of wonderful, wonderful drum breaks. Next up, we've got another collab with Ritual. The tune's called Mote of Dust. And yeah, this one is on one of Ritual's EPs on Soul Deep Recordings. Yeah, another collab with Dan Ritual. I'm trying to remember writing this track. I know I did the drums. And I know I put in the Carl Sagan vocal sample. I think that Ritual did the bass line. I know he did this little funky breakdown here, which is really cool. But yeah, about the vocal sample, I did put that in this song, so I can speak to that. That is taken from, I think it is a commencement speech by Carl Sagan. I want to say at Columbia University. I could be wrong, but it's kind of his famous pale blue dot speech. I'm looking it up. So, for those who don't know, the Voyager 1 satellite took a picture of the planet Earth from really far away, and from there, of course, the Earth looks like this tiny little dot. And Carl Sagan gave a really wonderful speech about how that really puts things into perspective, how we think we're so important and humanity's so important and my life is so important, and then we get a picture of the planet Earth from, you know, actually relatively close on a universal cosmic scale, and turns out we're not so important. We're just a mote of dust and a sunbeam. So yeah, big up to Carl Sagan. Rest in peace. A personal hero of mine. Speaking of outer space, this next tune is called Interstellar, which is not named after the movie, which I haven't seen. Maybe I should sit down and watch that over my Christmas break here. Yeah, this is on my second EP, the Everfrost EP, which is on the Celsius recordings, of course. This was a labor of love. This song took several months, maybe even like 6 months to write. Many of my songs come together in a day or two. Many of them take a month or two, and then one or two songs has taken 5 or 6 months. Within Eternity, that one took quite a while. This one took quite a while. And yeah, I haven't released on Celsius in a while. Well, that's not true. I just lied. I had that song with Natus on Celsius. But to me, Celsius is one of the strongest labels out there. I know Focus is technically considered the bigger record label, but I personally just love the vibe of Celsius tunes. And this is my last solo release on Celsius, which at some point we'll need to change that. Maybe I'll do another EP on Celsius one of these days. But in the meantime, I know my next EP is definitely going to be on Focus. And if you like this kind of drum and bass, this kind of outer spacey, ethereal, melodic drum and bass with kind of heavier bass lines. Not real heavy, but you know, a little bit of growl to them. Well, you're gonna like my next CP because I'm going full on space. It's drum and space. And yeah, I'm really excited to share what I've been cooking up in the studio. It's so close to being done. I need to get it done by the end of the year. That's my goal. And then hopefully we'll see a release in the spring. But anyway, enough about future music. That vocal sample that's chopped up there is actually the same vocal sample that you heard in Hollins Cross. And the way I find vocal samples sometimes, not always, but you know, sometimes you go on Splice or you'll hire a vocalist. But in this case, I found a girl singing a song on YouTube. I went on YouTube and I searched for acapellas and I sorted by least number of views. In this song, I had like 10 views or something like that. So I sampled that. And the reason I did that is because no one else has hopefully ever sampled it before, right? And that is a way that I was able to find an original sample. So yeah, you can sample pretty much anything, pretty much anywhere, but that's just a personal thing I've done is find videos with practically no views on YouTube and sample those. Moving right along with new music that just dropped this year on Carnelian, which is, of course, Rhea and Colette Warren's label. This is Leave It All Behind.
There was nothing left for me. How could I be what I believed out there? An isolating feeling when I knew I'd never see your face again. When you were mine,
And I'm trying to remember. I think this is the first collab I did with Pyxis, right? It's hard for me to remember, but yeah, we actually wrote Paradise Lost first, which obviously came out afterwards. But this song, Pyxis had this wonderful, wonderful melody written. And, you know, I did the drums, did the bass, bounced it back to Pyxis. I think she did some more work to it. And then she said, hey, we should get a vocalist on this. Let me send this over to Rhea. And she sent it to Rhea. And Rhea said, I know just the person. Let me put you in touch with Gemma Rose. And at that point, I'd already heard some of Gemma's stuff. I think probably the External Subway song with her I was familiar with. And when we had the opportunity to work with her, I was really, really excited. And yeah, and then Rhea loved it, and she put it out on her own label, which is fantastic. So big up to Pyxis, big up to Gemma Rose. Another song that used the Hive 808 bass line. And moving right along to another Ritual collab. And sometime last year, Ritual sent me like 5 songs. And he said, which one of these do you want to collab on? And I think I said all of them. Which we didn't end up collabing on all of them. I think eventually I picked this song. All right. I've got a bone to pick. The name of this song is Illusions. And so I had some song names in mind, but I asked my wife, I said, because she names a lot of my songs, I said to my wife, I said, what do you think this should be called? And she said some, and so I went to Ritual and I said, here's like 4 song names. Which one do you like? And of course he picked one of hers, so I'm kind of upset that they didn't use my name. But no, I really, really, really do love this song. It kind of grew on me. It was one that, we wrote, and we wrote pretty quickly. And then I listened to it, and I listened to it again and again and again, and I put it in mixes, and eventually something about it just started to really speak to me. Some of those pads and right there. Some of those melodies that Ritual has, they're buried in there, but they're just so, they really, 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 really speak to me. And of course I put in those vocals, because that's what I do, is always put in little vocal samples here and there. So this one is on the Lost River EP, which also came out this year. And it turned out tons of people like this song. I remember this song was popping up in mixes before the Lost River came out, and people were, what's that song? When's that song coming out? Da 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 da. And that's when I kind of realized this song is something special. So yeah, big up to Dan Ritual. Unfortunately, we don't have any music in the works right now, but maybe someday in the future we can write another track. But sometimes real life has to take precedence. Another one on Focus Recordings. And it's another song that I wrote in about a day. And believe it or not, I wrote both this song and Dunsworth over the course of about 24 hours. But this song is called Diamonds. On the Subwoofer Lullaby EP, which is my first EP on Focus. I just, again, it's okay to like your own music. I have to tell myself that. Because some people really are very critical of their own music. But like, if I didn't like the music, I guess my thing is I wouldn't be releasing it, right? So another kind of personal favorite of mine, this song, is just deep and soulful and atmospheric, and it embodies many of the things that the alpha rhythm sound is supposed to be, at least in my mind. And yeah, I say I wrote this in Dunsworth in a day, but I just want to stress, for every day that I managed to write a song in, there's like 100 days that I sit there and I write absolute garbage. So, you know, if you're new, because I remember hearing Logistics, I think on the Hospital podcast, and he was talking about the song Eastern Promise, And he said, I wrote that song, I was in Japan and I wrote it sitting in my hotel room one night. And I'm just like, how do you write an entire song in one day? Because at that point, I wanted to get involved with music production. And anytime I sat down and tried to write music, it was so overwhelming. I didn't have the knowledge to write a song, let alone a song in one day. But if you stay at it long enough, it's the whole monkeys with typewriters thing, right? If you put yourself in a position to be creative, eventually those creative juices will get flowing, and eventually you will write something good. But it's a matter of persistence and patience and patience with yourself, because there's days where I sit there and I'm so critical of my own music, right? Like I said, I love this song, but there's many days where I sit there, I'm just like, this is garbage, you're garbage, no one's ever gonna like your music, I can be my own worst critic. But every once in a while, there is a diamond that shines through. And I was in a place, I was in the right mindset. This is during lockdown, this is during COVID. No job, barely leaving the house. But during that time, I was doing a lot of spiritual practices. I was doing a lot of yoga. I was doing my wife and I were walking every day. We spending time in nature, a lot of stillness time. And I have to say, I know a lot of people probably hated lockdown, but I found for myself a lot of growth during that period, because I was able to find periods of stillness that otherwise during a busy, work week or with family and hockey and music and DJing, I don't always get that time to be still. And I find that stillness is very conducive to the creative process. So yeah, anyway, Diamond, Subwoofer Lullaby EP, another favorite of mine. Yeah. Moving from one favorite of mine to another. So, yeah, Within Eternity, like I said, I felt like that EP was really something special, and I didn't want it to end there, right? So I found it had 3 vocal tracks on it, which vocal tracks are perfect for remixing. So I went out and I found 3 people to remix my tunes. I got the legend that is Villem to remix Keeping On. I got Minos to remix Hidden Thoughts, and this song Within Eternity was remixed by Rezilient. And I just love what he did to this. I love it. I mean, I could gush over this song all day. I could gush over Rezilient's music all day. And it may be a little bit conceited, but this is probably my favorite Rezilient song all year. He hasn't actually put out that much music this year, but this in Crystal Mountain, his collab with Pyxis on Floodlight. Oh my God, the man is just so good. Can we just talk about Rezilient for a few minutes, all right? Let's stop talking about my music and talk about Rezilient's music. Because the man is just incredible and doesn't get the credit he deserves. And we are this close to finishing our next collab, and it's going to be on my next EP, and I'm so excited for it, and yeah, I mean, anyone who knows me just knows I love Rezilient, man. And the fact that I get to work with these artists and then collab with them and they remix my stuff, and I kind of have to pinch myself sometimes. Because I'm afraid that Rezilient's going to realize that I'm an idiot that doesn't know the first thing about making drum and bass. And he should probably go collab with like Andy C or someone who is more on his level. But no, I really just love Rezilient's music, and This song made it onto the Best of Focus 2022 LP, which is out now. And that just goes to show, and I'm not trying to knock Villem or anything, but, Villem, who's released on Metalhead, he's released on Hospital, Spearhead, obviously a lot there. Did they pick his remix for the best of? No, they picked Rezilient's remix, because Rezilient is that dude. Seriously underrated, criminally underrated, although Hospital did pick this song up and playlist it on their Spotify playlist. So big up to Hospital. Keep an eye on Rezilient. Man is gonna go far. Also, you might notice the backwards samples. They're not really samples. I played them myself. The backwards sound in this song is used in another one of my songs. It's used in Subarctic Signal. And I just really liked that sound. And in fact, this is in the same key as Subarctic Signal. So I was writing this song, well, the original, and it was missing something. And I said, you know what? I could use that backwards sound from Subarctic Signal. It's a patch in Omnisphere, which is another wonderful plugin. So just another little producer tip. Just reuse your sounds, reuse your drums, reuse your patches. You don't have to start every song from scratch. In fact, by reusing sounds, you can help develop your sound, right? So there's certain trademark sounds that producers have developed over the years, and that is kind of their watermark, right? Like I hear a song, I'm like, oh, that's Etherwood, or that's, Minos, or that's Subliminal, or that's whoever. By reusing sounds, we can develop our own sound and our own signature. So this one, speaking of which, the vocal sample, I just remembered this, and I think it was pointed out to me the other day by Curly. If I'm remembering this right, which I'm sorry if I'm not, the song that I sampled for the vocals in Ganymede, which is this track, a different part of the song that I sampled has the vocals that I used in Subarctic Signal. And of course, we're in that key still. We're still in F minor, which is the key that Subarctic Signal, that Within Eternity, and that Ganymede are all in. So yeah, Ganymede, my first collab with Echomatics. Listen, man, gotta say it, I love this track. It slams in the club. I closed with this song. No, sorry. No, I did close with this song. I closed with this song when I played right before LTJ Bookham in Pittsburgh a couple months ago, and it just really hits hard in the club. The drums are big and chunky. The bass line is heavy. It's got this nice breakdown in the middle, which really builds tension, and then boom, you hit him with the second drop. It's a little bit unconventional for Alpha Rhythm, but really, really, really happy with it. Big up to Eric Echomatics. I love you, brother. And of course, if you know, you know. I know that this is some of your favorite, this next song. It is, of course, Subarctic Signal. This is the VIP. I've had people ask me, what's VIP? What's that mean? Is it a very important person? No, it's a variation in production, actually. And if you're familiar with the original Subarctic signal, it was kind of this microfunk-esque tune. And in fact, I sent it to Bob's label, Microfunk, and he didn't want it. He never responded. What the hell, Bob? I'm really sad. No, listen, if you ever send music to a label, you can probably expect they're never going to mail you back. Most labels don't. They're very busy, and they get a lot of music. But anyway, so Subarctic Signal, that's on my first Celsius EP. That's on Wardenfell. But I wanted something that was a little more DJ-friendly, that microfunk drum style. That can be tough to mix, right? And this two-step pattern is obviously much easier to mix if you're mixing traditional drum and bass. So what I did is I made a VIP. I made a more DJ-friendly version. So I sent it to Marco and I said, hey, Marco, if you want this for any of your mixes, whatever, here it is. And he said, well, we have to release this. And I was like, oh, well, okay. Like, I certainly did not expect to release this tune. Really, the main difference, of course, is the drums, but it is kind of a whole different song with this drum pattern. So this was not something that took me long to write. I just cut out the old drums. I did these new drums, and the rest is history. They put it out. It's a title track of the Subarctic Signal EP, which is just a fantastic EP. Here, who's on that? I remember it was just so good. All right, listen to this. Subarctic Signal EP has Luciano on it, Eden and Barrow, Ritual, Senpai, Neuron, and IYRE. Do you have this EP? Probably not, because I'm looking at the Bandcamp page and not many people have bought it. So do yourself a huge favor and go to celsiusrecordings.bandcamp.com. Get the Subarctic Signal EP. Seriously, man, this is a wonderful EP, and I'm not just saying it because my song's on it. Yeah, but shout out to everyone who just loves this song, because I know there's lots of you, because you always request it in the chat. And I do, it's a nice one, right? And I wrote it on a cold winter day, much like today, It's just so beautiful, and you can't help but be inspired when you live in this beautiful environment. Unless you hate the cold and the snow, but luckily I love it. We're still in F minor with some brand new alpha rhythm. This one is just released 1 month ago today. It came out, actually. It came out November 25th on the Citadel EP. This is called Mindless. And, all right. So I originally wanted to do an EP that was all original alpha rhythm tunes, and then one song with a vocalist. And this is the first song I wrote for that EP. But then I just kept doing collabs, and the Citadel EP, of course, it doesn't have all original alpha rhythm tunes. But I had been doing so many collabs that I was like, I have to write something by myself, right? I have to write something wholly original alpha rhythm. So I wrote this one, and then I wrote The Unknown, but then of course The Unknown has a vocalist on it, so that's not entirely me. But that was really the starting point for this song. Was like, I had just been doing so many collabs, and I had just released the Lost River EP, which was all collabs, and I just sat down and I said, look, I'm not going to send this to anyone. I'm not going to work on a collab today. I'm just going to start this. And this song took a while. Maybe because I've been doing so many collabs, I just hadn't written the song by myself for a while. I was used to starting a song and then sending it off to someone else, or getting a song sent from someone else and then finishing it, right? So this was like, I gotta do it all by myself. And it was interesting because obviously when you start writing music, you're not doing any collabs. You're doing it all by yourself. And then I went into like full collab mode, which for me is a lot easier to write music as a collab. It just is. Sure, there's challenges. There can be differences of opinion. I want these drums. You want those drums. I want this bass note. You want that bass note. You have to compromise. But in the end, you don't have to do everything, right? Well, I got a little too used to doing that, so I think my next EP will be 2 original songs and 2 collabs, trying to find that balance between the collabs, which I love, but the original music, which I feel like I'm able to more express my unique sound and trademarks in my original music. So anyway, had a lot of fun writing this one. It's a little bit dark, a little bit creepy. But, you know, you've got the alpha rhythm trademarks there. You've got the reverb vocals. You've got the atmospheric swelling and moving around the song, panning around. You've got the huge reverb lead. I put reverb on everything. That's just what I do. And yeah. People do seem to love this one. And like I said, you can grab it now on the Citadel EP. Next up, another remix from the Within Eternity remix EP.
So my heartache was born. How can I see you like that?
The original is, of course, by myself and Subliminal. It's called Hidden Thoughts. It's featuring Sydney Bryce on the vocals, or just Sydney or whatever. And it's remixed by Minos. So yeah, like I said, I just wanted to get these songs remixed, and I got a hold of Villem, I got a hold of Rezilient, and then Subliminal was like, hey, why don't we have Minos remix Hidden Thoughts? And I was like, sure, of course. Minos is just another criminally underrated producer, and I think he really, really, really delivered with this remix. I play this in a lot of sets. In fact, I play this a lot more than the original. And yeah, it just really, really, really is a wonderful remix. And it's tough. It's tough to have your stuff remixed because it's your baby. A song's your baby, and you really work hard on it, and you hear it so many times, and you're so used to hearing it a certain way, and then you hear your remix, and it's not always easy to hear what other people have done with your song. But when you end up liking the remix more than the original, well, that is, I think, one of the highest compliments there is. And Subliminal is supposed to be remixing Diamonds, actually, which obviously I played earlier in the podcast. He's been extremely busy. I know he moved and hasn't had a lot of studio time lately. And he's been finishing his next EP, which I have already heard, and it is really, really, really good. A little bit different than what you'd usually expect from Subliminal, but still very, very, very strong. So, Subliminal, if you're watching, we're waiting. I think we mentioned like maybe a year ago that you were remixing Diamonds on the podcast. And that's why you don't talk about things too early, because sometimes they don't happen. But no, I think it's still happening. I think he's just been busy, and yeah. Maybe there'll be another Alpha Rhythm remix EP in the future. Who knows? And of course, I mean, if you're a patron, you just voted to have HumaNature remix The Unknown. So, yeah. Hey, it's Rain Tribe. Big up to the tribe locked in on the chat. Real quick, I do want to plug the hat that I have on. Obviously, I've got some Christmas attire on. Got my Christmas sweater. Well, it's a red sweater, so I call it a Christmas sweater. My wife says it's not a Christmas sweater, but I think it's very Christmassy because it's very red, and it reminds me of Christmas. But I also have an Alpha Rhythm hat on. It's a beanie, to be precise. And if you'd like your Alpha Rhythm beanie, you can head over to alpharhythm.com and get them in a variety of colors. That being said, this is Rain Tribe. It's my collab on Gold Fat with IYRE. My collab with IYRE on Gold Fat. How'd this song come about? Well, he sent me a bunch of stems with no drums. He sent me like 45 seconds of music, basically. And then I made this, basically. I put drums under it. And originally the song was... I think I put the Rain sample under it. Did I do that? Anyway, yeah, I must have, because we named it Rain Tribe. And then, yeah, anyway. YouTube. Got the Rain and Thunder off YouTube. Originally, the song was entirely halftime, which, if you're familiar with this song, obviously the second drop is halftime. And I'd never done a halftime song. I mean, I don't know why, but I got this 45, 50 seconds of music from IYRE and, rearranged it and turned it into a 5-minute track and made it halftime. And he's like, whoa, that's cool, right? And I was like, yeah, isn't it? And he said, well, what if we do half of the song halftime? I think that was his idea, if I'm remembering right. I was like, okay, well, that means I have to do twice the work. Boo-hoo. So I went back and I made the first drop, a regular 2-step pattern. And, yeah, I added elements, of course. I added the vocals, because that's what I do. I add reverb vocals to everything. But again, it's good to have a trademark. It's good to have a signature, and I think that's one of my signatures. So yeah, no, I couldn't be happier with this song. It got uploaded to UKF. It was my first ever song to be uploaded to UKF. IYRE and we've been working on a song for over a year now, but it's almost done. IYRE, of course, is in Sri Lanka, and so we are literally as far apart as we could be without being on different planets. So, time zone, scheduling conflicts, but we're almost done with our next song. So hopefully you can look for that next year sometime. And if I had to guess, that'll probably come out on Gold Fat as well. Gotta big up Gold Fat, gotta big up Grant, gotta big up Johnny, gotta big up everyone. Kublai, Pyxis, Oris, Note. I mean, all you. I love you guys. Digital Native. Seriously, Gold Fat, just one of the best in the biz. So, yeah, big up to IYRE. Really, really enjoy this song. And it's named after you. It's named after the Alpha tribe, which is the phrase you guys coined for yourself. And, yeah, I don't know. I'm just song means a lot to me and hopefully means a lot to you as well, because you all mean a lot to me, right? And that's why we named the song after you, because some of you might not know this, many of you probably do. The only reason I started producing drum and bass is because you guys kept telling me to produce. Like, this is not an exaggeration. I kind of always wanted to, but you gave me the push I needed. I'd been doing this podcast for, well, about 2 years before I started to produce, and you know, everyone in the chat was like, when are we going to hear algorithm music? And I'm like, well, dude, I'm a DJ. I'm not a producer, right? People in the comments on YouTube, when are you going to play algorithm? There is no algorithm. I'm just a DJ. Here, I'll play some Alexvnder, whatever. And then, I don't know, the rest is history, right? I started producing during COVID, during lockdown, and, well, releasing during lockdown, and here we are today with a Alexvnder song remixed by Algorithm. It's Repose. And this is the first remix I ever did. I've done 2 now. You're about to hear the other one here in about a month. And when I got asked to remix Alexvnder, I don't know about you, but I love Alexvander's music. I mean, he is a very good musician. Really, like if you go back, because he stopped producing for a while, but if you go back to my earlier mixes and podcasts, you'll hear a lot of Alexvnder. Sorry, I just had to rock out to this song for a second. Yeah, so when they asked me to remix this is another one that I did in about a day. They sent me the song, which I never heard before, and they said, can you remix this? So here's some advice for producers if you're ever looking to remix a tune. What I did is, because the parts of the song are named. So you've got like the drums, the bass, the piano, the plucky bits, the arps, the whatever, right? So I just looked at the names of the stems, which is the parts of the song, they're called stems, and I deleted most of them. I kept the piano, the pads, I kept 5 or 6, I deleted the drums are gone, the bass is gone. I kept, and again, here's a fun fact. I've never heard this song still to this day. I have no idea what the original sounds like. But I kept just what I thought would be the essence of the song, right? So that's the piano, that's the pads, that's the swells, the this, the that, the other. I kept the melodic bits and got rid of the rest. And I basically redid all the drums, all the bass, and added some other algorithm-y kind of stuff. And this is what I came up with. I don't know. It came together very quickly. So I sent it to the label that asked me to remix, and I said, hey, this is, just a couple hours of work. This is what I came up with. And they were like, what? Is it done? This sounds like it's done. And I was just like, I don't know. Is it? I don't know. Like, you told me. I guess so. So, obviously it wasn't done. I still had, the song was there, but I had to massage it and work on the mix down and get the drums better and the bass better and, tweak the sounds. But it's another one of those songs that, kind of bam, like I sat down and it just kind of happened. The pieces they gave me to work with were so good. Like, and if you listen closely, you can recognize the drums. The drums are, they're not exactly the drums from Tranquility, but I took the drums from Tranquility and then modified them some. And, that's another thing, like I said, like, reuse some of your own sounds. Like, if you make a nice drum loop that you like, if you're a producer, reuse that drum loop. Don't start from scratch every time, because I don't know if you're like me, I hate doing drums, man. Like, I'm gonna reuse. If I make some good drums that work really well, I'll reuse those drums and I'll modify them, right? But I'll reuse them so I don't have to start from scratch again. Another one with Ritual. This one's called Bliss. one's on Influenza Media, which my first release ever from the Ashes is, of course, on Influenza as well. And I think Influenza does a great job of breaking through new artists into the scene. Yeah, this one, I feel like a broken record, but I think Ritual did the bass and all the melody. Well, no, I did that ARP. No, I guess I did the piano too. I don't remember what I started with. Ritual sent me some bits. I think he had a bass line and maybe some drums. But I remember I worked a lot on the drums. I don't think I did the bass line. Oh, this is a long time ago. But I definitely, so that ARP I added, the vocals of course I added. And the vocals, I really like using acapellas, like vocals that don't have words. You'll hear it in this song, you hear it in Tranquility, you hear it in The Maker, you hear it in Hollins Cross. I like having vocals, but when you start to put words into songs, you give the song a meaning. And in my opinion, sometimes that detracts from the song. See, when you don't have vocals, it allows the listener to bring their own meaning to the song. So by just having, I like having vocals, I like the human voice, as I said before, it's the oldest human instrument, but by just having acapellas, what does this song mean to you? You can kind of, oh, this song reminds me of that time where I did this and this happened, or this person left, or my dog died, or I don't know, right? You can bring your own meaning to it, because it's not saying, well, my boyfriend left me and da-da-da-da-da, whatever, right? It's not imposing a meaning upon you. It's allowing you to bring your own meaning to it. So in this song, we've got a call and a response. We've got a man and a woman. We've got the male vocals, and then the female vocals, and it goes right back and forth. So I don't know. It's a thing. What does that mean? I don't know. You tell me. Like that's the beauty of art, right? And I really like this song. I DJ it a lot. Other people seem to really like this song. And yeah, what can I say? This whole EP is fantastic. If you don't know this EP, get to know. It's a Ritual's debut EP. It's the Acacia EP. And it's on Influenza Media. And this song mixes very well with the next song.
I just wanna take my time, living the last one. Slow ride, right to
another song with Rezilient. This time featuring the immaculate, the fabulous Leo Wood. It's one day at a time. I almost hate to talk over this one. Another one that I started and sent to Rezilient, too many R names. I sent to Rezilient, he did some bits and sent it back, and I said, we gotta get a vocalist on this. I sent this to Leo, she had vocals within like a week to me. It's hard to pick a favorite song that I've ever done, but this is certainly up there.
I just wanna take my time, living the life.
Because one day at a time is obviously a motto that I live my life by. It's absolutely absurd.
My life wishing easily. From now I'm living one
to live in tomorrow because tomorrow never comes. Show me tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. It's a concept. It's an idea, right? And as soon as your clock strikes midnight, it is today. It's never, ever, 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 ever tomorrow. You can only live in today. And you can sit here and worry about tomorrow till you're blue in the face, and it's not going to change a damn thing. And especially as an artist, it is so essential to practice stillness and presence of mind in order to allow yourself to create music or paintings or sculptures or whatever form of art you're trying to create. Practicing presence is a powerful, powerful tool to open that channel up. So yeah, one day at a time. It's all we got just for today. I mean, I didn't tell Leo to sing about this, right? Like, this is a motto I live my life by. One day at a time. Or just for today, whatever. And she sent me these vocals, and I'm like, oh, word, okay. This is what we're doing, right? And you can call that whatever you want, a coincidence. You can call it odd. You can call it God. You can call it the will of the universe. But yeah, no, I think it's pretty cool. And next up, we have my first ever release. It's From the Ashes, and it's on Influenza Media. And I wrote this song, well, almost 3 years ago now. It's hard to believe. And, boy, I don't remember. It's so long ago. All right, I just started to take lessons from Villem. Production lessons. And the way that came about is, you know, I followed Villem on Instagram or whatever. And he made a post. He said, hey, I give production lessons and I have room for a new student. And I was like, whoa. I've been trying to learn to produce. I would like to learn to produce. So I hit him up and he's like, yeah, sure. Let's do the thing. So I'm working with him and I'm making a lot of hot garbage. And he said, why don't you try sampling? He said, if you want to make liquid drum and bass, you got to sample stuff, right? Go listen to some music and try sampling that music and see what happens. And this is what happened. You know, this song, it came together relatively quickly. I want to say it took a couple of months to write, but the crux of the song, the melody, I did that. I laid that out in probably an afternoon, and then I kind of worked the song, worked with it for a number of months, and Marco, who runs Focused Recordings, he was sending me promos for my YouTube channel. He directly was emailing them to me. So one day, when he sent me some new music for YouTube, he said, hey, here's the new releases coming up on Focus and Celsius and Influenza. Feel free to play them on YouTube. I just hit reply, and I said, hey, I wrote this song. He wrote me back that night while I was asleep. I woke up the next morning to an email saying, yes, we would like this. And I I didn't quite believe it at first, right? And then he's like, yeah, we're going to release it, and it's going to be on the From the Ashes EP. It'll be the title track. And I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. And then I remember hearing one of the Focus recording mixes on YouTube maybe a month later, and they put the song in it. And that's when it kind of sunk in. I mean, I was excited. But then I got really excited because it was happening. You know, I was getting my first ever release. So, you know, like I said, big ups to everyone who's ever encouraged me and pushed me to do that, because I definitely would not have done it without your encouragement, without your support, especially the support of my patrons. Because my patrons, you know, I've said this time and time again, you know, I don't really get much in the way of money for doing my music, right? But I do spend quite a bit of money doing my music, whether I'm paying for vocals or paying for, you know, sessions with someone like Villem, or, you know, I did sessions with Pyxis as well. The money that you give me on Patreon, that helps me, you know, realize my dreams and my goals, and to write beautiful drum and bass. So thank you for that.
My actions are the only reason any hope remains.
Next up, we've got the title track of my new EP, the Citadel EP. This song is with both Ritual and Natus. It's actually called Citadels. I know that's a little confusing because the EP is called The Citadel, but another personal favorite of mine. This one took about 2 years to write. So, those who have been following me for a number of years will know that one of my first tracks was called Vigil. And that track got pulled down. That track had a music sample taken from the game Mass Effect, which is one of my favorite games ever. Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3. I could talk about them all day, but I'm not going to. I sampled the music because I love video games, and I was trying to pay homage to the video game. You know, maybe people will hear the music and be like, oh, I want to try that game out. In no way was I trying to steal anything, right? Well, BioWare, who made Mass Effect, is now owned by Electronic Arts, by EA. And they've got a big legal team, and they didn't like that. So they got a hold of me. Well, they got a hold of Focus, and they said, hey, Ixnay on the Ongsnay, whatever, you know, take that song down. So of course we did. And, but I still had the song, and I still I liked it, but I had to take the musical sample out, right? So it was, once you take that out, it was really empty. So fast forward a year and a half, and I'm sitting around fiddling around in Ableton. And I'm like, man, I should really, you know, kind of redo this song without that sample, right? I can write some new music and put it in there, and they won't get all butthurt about copyright or whatever. And it occurred to me I could hire Natus. Again, you know, that's where your money goes on Patreon. I could use some of my Patreon funds to hire this wonderful professional musician who also makes drum and bass to write a nice melody to play in that, right? And I sent it to Natus without the offending sample, and I said, hey, Natus, you know, do you write me something for this? And he said, absolutely, you know, give me a few days. And he came back with some absolute gold. And so then I went back and I redid the drums and the bass, and I redid the mix down. I changed the song up. So it is quite a bit different than the original. But that's the story of Citadels. You know, that's the story of this track. Like I said, it took about 2 years to write. from beginning to release.
Keepers are controlled by the city.
And
Before each invasion,
what? It's my longest song ever. What is it? 8 minutes and 22 seconds.
the Citadel.
I'm still trying to write a 10-minute song. I love long songs. Spotify hates long songs, and I hate Spotify. So it's my big middle finger to Spotify. Because like my stuff will never get playlisted because it's just too long, right? Like my songs are too lengthy. Villem the other day is like, man, you can make the song way shorter. I'm like, no. I really couldn't care less what my Spotify numbers are. I really couldn't care less. So whatever. Yeah, this song, it's my longest song ever. We're gonna get there. We're gonna get to 10 minutes. Of course, big vocals, reverb vocals. What is she saying? I don't know. It doesn't matter. What do you think she's saying? What is she singing about? Is she happy? Is she sad? You tell me. I just personally think this song really turned out great. So big up to Ritual. I mean, Ritual, he hasn't touched this song in over a year, right? Like, I sent Ritual a message on Discord and I said, hey, here's our new track. And he's like, oh, I kind of remember this one, right? Because I have not worked on a song with Ritual in probably over a year at this point. But, you know, I felt this song was too good to just leave by the wayside. I needed to do something with it. And Marco loved it as well. You know, I said, hey, remember Vigil? Well, here's your Citadels. And he's like, yes, we're releasing this, right? And then it became the title track of my new EP. So, yeah. Bits and pieces. Has another video game sample in it, but I'm not going to name it because lawyers are scary, especially in the United States. That's all we do here is we sue people. Yeah, what are they going to... I probably made like $10 off this song. They can have it. You know, the big industry that is drum and bass, especially in the United States. Drum and bass is just huge. All right, this is a collab with HumaNature. So I did the pads, the strings there, the piano, stuff like that. And then he did the drums and the bass. So oftentimes in collabs, I end up doing the drums and the bass. I think he did both the drums and the bass. Maybe I did the bass. But he definitely did that that little swirly thing in the background there. Yeah, I don't know. I thought about doing a VIP of this song. I like this song. This was on my first Focus EP. This is on Subwoofer Lullaby. Getting to collab with HumaNature, you know, I got to collab with Villem and HumaNature early on. And that's really cool because they're both so good at what they do. So I learned a lot from working with Andre and with Drew Villem, with Andre HumaNature. So big up to Drew Villem and Andre HumaNature. Really, really an honor and a privilege to get to work with the two of them. And we're moving right along to Wardenfell, which is the title track of my very first EP, which also samples a video game. There's a lot of video game samples in my music. And this song also has a very special place in my heart. Because it was played on the Hospital Records podcast. And I've had a number of songs played on the Hospital Records podcast since then, but this was my first ever song played on the Hospital podcast. And at that point, I don't think I had any music out. And here I am on the Hospital Records podcast. I mean, literally 0 releases, right? And Hospital Records used to do these demo casts where they play a bunch of demos. And this wasn't even a demo cast. So, like, they had never played a demo on the Hospital Records podcast before. As far as I know, this is like episode 400 or something. He's like, I'm going to play a demo. This is out for the Wardenfell. And I mean, I just about fell out of my chair. I was on my way. I was on my way to a tuning shop to pick up my car with my wife, and I couldn't believe it. I think I called some people and that listened to the podcast, and I was just like, dude, I'm on the Hospital Records podcast. Because, like, the reason that my friends and I in this area got into drum and bass was the Hospital Records podcast. So it's like a full circle thing, right? Like, I got into drum and bass because of the Hospital Records podcast, and then my music ended up on the Hospital Records podcast. And this is back when Tony was still doing it, and, you know, Tony on Electricity is, again, the reason that I got into drum and bass, right? I have a Hospital Records tattoo. It's my first tattoo, right? I mean, like, so I did have a little bit of a geek out moment. So yeah, big up to Tony for the support. I mean, this helped me land my first EP with Celsius. The fact that he played this on the Hospital Records podcast is what got me that record deal. And that was my goal. I've talked about this before. My goal was always to get a release on Celsius, a release on Focus, and a release on Hospital. And yeah, no, it happened. And then it's like, oh shit, now what, right? So I guess it's just keep writing music, right? Keep refining my sound and keep doing the thing. And this is the title track of my second EP on Celsius. This is Everfrost, which also samples a video game. And if you'd like bonus brownie points, you can drop a message or a comment and say what video game I sampled. They're not always like big overt samples. Sometimes they're very subtle. So if you can figure it out, then kudos to you, because it's not obvious, right? Because when it's obvious, you get attacked by lawyers. I also have to shout out Scatterbrain, who did a wonderful remix of this tune, which is out on Headspace Volume 9. That just came out earlier this year. Big up to Scatterbrain, big up to the Romanian drum and bass massive. And big up again to Marco. He allowed us to take that remix and release it on a different label. Obviously, the original's on Celsius, so usually the remix would also have to come out there. But Marco is just a super nice guy. And I said, hey, could we release this on Headspace, right? Like, Headspace is a very important project to me, anyway, and very near and dear. And he said, yeah, go for it. You know, it's a charity album. I'm not making any money off of it. Obviously, Scatterbrain didn't make any money off of it. But no, I think his remix is great. I play it all the time. I think Scatterbrain is extremely talented, as well as, I mean, it's just Romanian drum and bass, right? It's Subliminal, Scatterbrain, Rezilient, Soul Drip, all those guys. Again, it must be something in the water. Although Rezilient did just move to Barcelona. So, oh no. If it's the water, then Resilient's gonna suck. We have to get Rezilient to move back to Romania. I just realized this now. Rezilient, you've made a terrible mistake. The water in Spain is not drum and bass water. You must move, or, I got it. All right, here's what we need to do. People in Romania, you need to send Rezilient water from Romania so he can continue to make Romanian water drum and bass. They don't call it liquid drum and bass for nothing. Hey, speaking of liquid drum and bass, we've got Cursive, TS, and myself. Cosmic Shores. Yes, big up. We got some German drum and bass going on here. I myself am German and Irish, and CRSV and TS are both from Germany, so we'll say that this song is, we'll say 75%, maybe 80% German. Well, if I'm half German, let's see, 66%, 33, half of 33. And again, no, we'll say 80. We'll say it's 80% German. German bass. Also has to be said, extremely good. Although I've never been to Germany. I spent time in Poland. I did a semester studying in Poland, and I went near the German border. I just never have been across it. My wife lived in Germany for a number of years and is fluent in German, and it's always trying to get me to go there. So hopefully we'll be over at some point. Anyway, this song, I guess I should talk about the song. God, I don't remember. I do remember adding the vocals. And I remember working on the drums. I don't really have any good stories. Did I put the birds in there? Oh, yes, I think I did. Because it's Cosmic Shores. Yeah. And, yeah. So, the name of the song is a reference, once again, to Carl Sagan. And originally, I had a Carl Sagan sample in it. And he said this in his TV show, Cosmos. He said, "The surface of the Earth is the shore of the cosmic ocean. Recently, we've waded a little way out, and the water seems inviting." So, also, if the surface of the Earth is the shore of the cosmic ocean, then, I mean, the moon is what, like dipping your toe in, right? And, of course, that is, Apollo 11. So, yeah. And, of course, I got a lot of crazy messages when we put this song out. And the same with Tranquility, because Tranquility, the name of that song, is a reference to the Sea of Tranquility, which is where Apollo 11 landed. So, I'm sorry if I offended you and you think the moon landing didn't happen. I don't know what to say to that. Obviously, did not mean to offend anyone by using a sample from the moon landing in my song. But apparently, people get offended about just about everything nowadays, so my horribly offensive moon landing sample. I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh, but it's quite funny that people get upset over these things. But hey, each their own. But yeah, Cosmic Shores, the title track of the Cosmic Shores EP by Cursive and TS and myself. Oh, God, that EP also has that Luciano collab. Woo! I love that tune. Speaking of Luciano, who himself, he's just such a good producer. I could gush about Luciano all day. This is myself and Luciano, Heaven in Me. This one, I think Luciano started this track. He sent me some drums and bass, and I think that's about it. Maybe some like pads. So I remember I redid the drums. I did little plucky bits, little chimey plucky stuff. I did all that in Hive 2, and then I added the vocals. It needed some vocals, and I think I found the perfect vocal sample. You know, it's easier said than done finding a vocal sample that works. And you know me, like I said, I usually like to do acapellas. But yeah, these vocals just, I really like these vocals. It was a vocal sample probably off of Splice or Loop Cloud. And it's simple. Do you see Heaven in Me? Right? That's it. It's a very short sample. And then I was able to just kind of reuse it, right? In me. That's it. I mean, it's such a simple vocal sample, and yet it seems, to me anyway, that it's very effective. And there we have some really reverbed piano with delay. It's actually reverse piano with the delay and reverb on it. And yeah, another song that I think just turned out fantastic. Big up to Luciano. We have a collab coming next year on my next EP, which I am so excited for. And if you've seen me live in the past few months, you've heard the song because like the Bookham set, I opened the LTJ Bookham set with this song. Actually, it was so good that as soon as we finished the song, I hired Villem to master the song because I wanted to be able to play in the club. For those who don't know, you know, you'll write a song and to get it sounding like really, really, really loud and really nice for the club, you'll send it to an audio engineer, a mastering engineer, and they'll just make it loud, make it sound, you know, club worthy, basically. So I went and, you know, hired Villem. Usually when you sign an EP to a label, they do the mastering for you, right? But for this song, which is so good, or well, this future song which you've never heard, or maybe you have heard it, but anyway, I did go ahead and get it mastered. So hopefully that'll be out sometime in 2023. Another collab from the Lost... No, this isn't the Lost River. Jesus Christ. I don't even know my own releases. This is from the Citadel EP. This is called Lost Grace. And this is with Echomatics. Once again, big up to Eric Echomatics. We just finished another collab, which is going to be on his next EP. So that'll be our third collab together. We are on a roll. And yeah, a little bit about this song. I did the drums and the bass. Eric sent me this wonderful piano and the little vocal The little vocal hook. But the piano and the vocals were just so good. When he sent them to me, I'm like, yes. You know, it's like, hey, do you want to work on this? Do you want to collab? Yes. And oh, that's right. So it originally did have, I think he did a bass line, and then I redid the bass line, but I kept some of his little wubs and grubs, little growls in the background. And there's the name of this song comes from, and I've said this before, it comes from Elden Ring, and there are Elden Ring samples throughout the song. The sound when you discover a lost grace is, you know, kind of scattered throughout the song, most prominently at the end. Elden Ring. You know, I'm a huge gamer. I've played a lot of games, but that's just, it's, for my money, one of the greatest games ever made. I love From Software games, you know, Dark Souls and Bloodborne, and but Elden Ring, they just took that formula to a whole new level. I won't spend too long gushing over a video game here, but you know, if you're into the FromSoft games, woo, that was a treat. So yeah, gotta pick up Ledge Sounds. It's, you know, again, it's one of those things. I got into Liquid because of channels like Ledge, and then you get your songs uploaded to Ledge, and you're like, oh my god. And like UKF uploads are cool, you know, UKF's big, right? But I never spent a ton of time on UKF. I spent more time on Liquid D&B for the win and Ledge, and they've both been so supportive of my music. And I just got to big up those guys because it's because of channels like that I found Liquid, and I fell in love with Liquid. And now I get to make Liquid with all of my friends, with Echomatics, with Natus, with Ritual, with HumaNature, with Villem, with Rezilient, with Subliminal. Who am I missing? With IYRE, with pyxis, with Luciano, with Leo Wood, with Sydney Bryce, with Gemma Rose, with Minos. Well, he remixed, but you know. So yeah, big ups to everyone. Big up everyone. Everyone. Every single person on the planet. To a solo tune. This one is called wait, yeah. I forgot what this song was called for a second. This is called Subwoofer Lullaby, which is my first Focus EP, the title track of my first Focus EP. Yeah. Someone described this song as elves chanting in the woods, which I thought that was nice, kind of an ethereal, elvish quality to it. The vocals in this song are super duper time stretched vocals with reverb on them. So I took like one syllable of a word. Like, say someone said, I don't know, automobile, right? And I took just the right, just the beginning of it, and I stretched it way out, which sounds terrible. It sounds god awful if you do that. But here's the catch: if you put a bunch of reverb on that vocal sample, it just is like this really otherworldly, ethereal kind of sound. And I don't remember why I did that, how I did it, or I know how I did it, but I don't know why or what made me do it, I guess I should say. But I did it, and it sounded cool. So that's the vocals. Again, just some random person off of YouTube. I have no idea. Big ups to whoever it is. You know, obviously a young woman or a girl or whatever. So yeah, that's how I did these vocals. A lot of my, again, you know, you got to find what works for you. Do something that no one else is doing, right? Don't do what I just told you. If you're trying to write drum and bass, do something new, right? And keep doing it, because that's what's going to define you as an artist. And not all artists are like that. You know, some artists don't have a sound per se, like someone like Villem, for instance. Like, he's got heavier stuff, he's got lighter stuff, he's got this and that and the other. But I think some of the most successful artists are ones, and again, Villem's very successful, but I think some of the most successful artists have a trademark sound that you can kind of instantly tell. You know, I touched on this earlier. Oh, that's a Etherwood song. You know, I hear an Etherwood song, and I love Etherwood. He's one of my favorite artists. Same with Bob. Like, Bob has a signature style, and I love Bob. He's my favorite producer. You know, Caliber's another one of my favorite producers, and Seba. You know, I'm naming basically my top 4 producers right here, and they all, like, if I hear a song and it's a Seba song, I'm like, bam, Seba. You know, if I hear a song and it's a Caliber song, I know, you know, it's a Caliber song. No one has to tell you, this is Caliber. You can hear it and know it, you know. So hopefully, because I certainly strive to do that with my music, hopefully I've managed to establish an algorithm sound.
When you become aware of it, when you pay attention to it, makes you
this one.
yourself as the awareness that
This one's called Dunsworth.
noise and all the movement. And then when you perceive all
And
around you,
I don't even know where to start with this song. The sample's from Eckhart Tolle.
awareness, then you have
It's a YouTube video. I think something about loss and the nature of impermanence. Something like that. And so
you suddenly become aware of nothing.
the name of this song is it's named after John Dunsworth, who played Officer Leahy in Trailer Park Boys, which is a Canadian TV show. And he had died recently. And the piano in this song is very, very, very similar to the piano. It's not sampled, but it's very similar to the theme song piano from Trailer Park Boys. And it's kind of this beautiful, melancholy little piano bit. And I was like, oh my god, this sounds like the piano from Trailer Park Boys. And, you know, so the song, it did have a mournful kind of quality. And yeah, I wanted to name it after John Dunsworth. So that's who it's named after. And it just has to do, you know, I was going through a period of loss. I think we all were, you know, again, it was during lockdown. And I wrote this the same day as Diamonds. And when I say I wrote a song in a day, I didn't finish it in a day. I sketched it out. I had the basic, you know, bare bones of the song, and then I fleshed it out over the coming days and weeks. But the idea was there, you know, in just one day. So I just love this song. I love Eckhart Tolle. Yeah, a lot more algorithm signatures in here. You know, I use a lot of choral patches. I use a lot of choir in my tracks. And you know, this is no exception. There's a lot of choir in this song. A lot of vocals that aren't words, you know.
What it has lost. The spirit rejoices for what it has found.
And yeah, next up, collab with Natus and HumaNature, The Lost River. And it's funny, because my goal with this song was to write a song with no samples whatsoever. And in a way, I mean, did we accomplish that? No. But, because Natus, this is live, you know, live violin, right? But I was trying to do it completely in a DAW without sampling anything. But there was still something missing. You know, Andre, HumaNature, and I were working on it, and I said, you know, let me get Andrew to record some strings for this. I love this song. Another song that, you know, kind of just, for me anyway, transports you to another place, to the Lost River. So that's a video game reference. That's a reference to Subnautica, which again, one of my personal favorite games. So I wrote this little little ARP. You know, I did a lot of the synths and everything, and then Andre did the drums, did the bass line. That there, a lot of people think it's a guitar. That is a violin run through distortion. It's you know, a violin with overdrive on it. So it may sound like an electric guitar, but that's just because you're used to hearing electric guitar with overdrive. It's actually a violin with overdrive. So these are live strings, man. I mean, Natus, you know, he's been on what? He's been on this track. He's been on Citadels, and he's been on, well, Hollins Cross, obviously his tune. And he records his violins live. He is a professional violinist. And it's been such a joy to get to work with him this past year, and I hope we continue to work together into 2023. And this one isn't out. Figured I'd treat you with something new. I think it was last year, right? Or was it 2020? I I'm so bad with the years. I'm sorry. But one of these years, my tune of the year was this. It's I Need You by Scatterbrain. And Scatterbrain, of course, remixed one of my songs. So in return, I remixed one of his. And it was a no-brainer when I got to pick what song I wanted to remix. Well, I'll go ahead and try to remix one of my favorite songs, which in retrospect is kind of a bad idea because, like, how can I top the original, right? Like, the original is just so good. So this is Scatterbrain, I Need You, the Alpha Rhythm remix. And it's out next month on Celsius Recordings. It's out at the end of January on the Late Night in Buenos Aires EP, which is another fantastic compilation on Celsius. So yeah, big up to Scatterbrain for asking me to remix a song, and big up for remixing, Everfrost once again. Hopefully you enjoy this remix. I think the original is still fantastic. It was a challenge to do this remix. Spent a lot of time on it, and I hope you really enjoy it.
Show me the stars.
Yeah, wow. We're getting near the end. And if you want to hear this mix that's playing right now without me jabbering all over it, you can go two places. You can go to patreon.com/alpharhythmdnb, where every week I post a version of the podcast without me talking. The Talkless podcast. We some done a topless podcast. It's too cold to do a topless podcast. This mix is also on the Man from Del Monte's YouTube channel. It's my Christmas present to everyone. A 2-hour, 100% Alpha Rhythm mix. And I tried to do something fun with the vocals. The song's called I Need You. So, but then I really like the way she said maybe. So I made it. It constantly says, maybe I need you. I don't know. Kind of lends it some ambiguity. So yeah, I don't know. I had fun doing the remix. It's my remix. There's still the original. If you don't like my remix, I'm sorry. The original's really good. But I'm happy with it. So yeah, that's out in just over a month's time on Celsius. So you won't have to wait very long for new Alpha Rhythm music. For just one more.
Maybe I need you.
Last one from me in 2020. Well, the last episode of the podcast in 2020. Anyway, it's Timber Hearth. Yes, Timber Hearth. my banjo and bass song, which, listen, I never intended to release this song. I didn't think it would ever come out. People love this song. I'm so glad people love this song because it's something totally different, right? Like, Villem heard this song and he was like, you have to release this. He, I think, wanted me to send it to... No, I actually did send it to Hospital. Hospital didn't want it because it is very different, right? It's weird. And I think Hospital's a little more mainstream than they used to be. It has to be said that they maybe are a little less experimental than... Well, you know, they had med school before. They had a place for experimental music, but now they don't have that. So. Anyway, they didn't want it, so I sent it to Marco. He loved it. He released it. Yeah, I love it. You know, it's a really heartwarming song, I think. It's a reference to Outer Wilds, of course. The title is it's the starting planet in Outer Wilds, which is the greatest video game ever made. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about it. Like I said, it's a weird one, right? And every time I play it, I'm like, I'm like, are people gonna like this? And then every time everyone's like, oh my god, what is this song? You know, because I don't know. There's just something about it, I guess. So, yeah, that's it. That's another year of the Algorithm podcast in the books. What's that, 52 podcasts? Something like that. I don't think we missed a week. I don't think we've missed a week for at least, I don't know, 2 years. I really appreciate you all tuning in, you know, each and every week. And whether you catch us live or you catch the recording or whatever, you know, I appreciate your support. And you guys keep listening and I'll keep recording them. Looking forward to having some guests back on the podcast here pretty soon. Hopefully get Rezilient back on the podcast soon. Next week, which is New Year's Day, I'll be back with my top 22 songs of 2022. That'll be fun. That won't be so much of a mix, as it'll just be running down my top 22 songs, you know. It's tough to mix. Like, I try to always mix as best as I can on the podcast, even though they're not really mixes per se. But next week, you know, it's going to be 22 songs in whatever order. I'm not going to be able to mix them super well, so please bear with me next week. You know, while we count down the top 22 songs of 2022. And then we're off. Then we're into 2023, and like I said, we don't have to wait long. We've got new algorithm at the end of January. So, yeah. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever. Happy holidays. Have a safe and happy New Year's Eve. And then I'll see you on New Year's Day. I'll be back. I'll be here. And I'll have 22 incredible pieces of music, because, man, 2022 has been a year, let me tell you. I've been trying to narrow down my list. It's just so hard to come up with just 22 songs. So once again, thank you for being along, for coming along on this journey with me. $239 podcasts. Over 4 years we've been doing this thing. And I don't see it stopping anytime soon. So I'll see you all next week. One love.